I don't think the immense success of the PlayStation 4 can be overstated. Since day one, the platform has been on fire. It all began with their unforgettable E3 2013 conference when they countered Xbox One in just about every conceivable way possible. This was back when Don Mattrick was in charge of Xbox and was pushing for an always-online console that didn't allow you to borrow or lend games, imposed restrictions on used games, mandatorily shipped with Connect, and priced the Xbox One at a whopping $500. In comes Sony's press conference to let the world know that PlayStation 4 would be selling for $400, would not require a constant internet connection to play games, would allow for traditional borrowing and lending of games, would not impose any restrictions on used games, so on and so forth. Some would argue that Sony had already won the so-called console wars with their E3 2013 presentation, but I personally think that they could have easily lost that lead without compelling software. Fortunately, that's another area in which Sony didn't let up and dominated. They might have gotten to a slow start, but eventually they started offering a steady stream of highly compelling exclusive titles that took gaming by a storm. Xbox One, on the other hand, despite having improved drastically over the years under Phil Spencer's leadership, still lacks a compelling library of exclusives, and I think that's the ultimate reason why its sales are sitting at half of PS4's. So perhaps it should come as no surprise that Sony recently reported during a financial briefing that as of April 27, 2018, PlayStation 4 is comfortably sitting at 76 million units sold since its launch 4.5 years ago. In 2017 alone, PlayStation 4 pushed a whopping 19 million units, which is a little less than the 20 million that they shipped the year prior, but still pretty damn impressive numbers. Now, like with any product, there comes a time when interest begins to diminish and sales eventually peak. Sony seems to believe that time has come for PlayStation 4, expecting a decline in sales throughout 2018, whereas 2016 saw record numbers with 20 million sold and 2017 came close at 19 million. Sony expects that throughout 2018, sales figures will be closer to 16 million. That's still no insignificant number, and assuming Sony's predictions are correct, by the end of 2018, PlayStation 4 will have sold over 90 million units. But this does mean that we are at a stage in which PlayStation 4 will begin winding down to make way for PlayStation 5. Don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of life left in PlayStation 4, especially judging by how software sales on the platform has actually increased from 218 million last year to 247 million this year. Not to mention that there is a slew of compelling exclusive titles from Last of Us Part 2 to Death Stranding that have yet to release and help push more units. However, it does seem as though we're getting to a point in which Sony has to begin finalizing their research on PS5's hardware specs and gear up to get development kits out to game studios so that they can have a smooth launch for the next generation of consoles come fall 2020, which is the predicted release window for PlayStation 5. That is still a couple years down the line, so for those freaking out about how they just got a PS4 or just plan to get one, don't worry, you've got plenty of time. PlayStation 4 continues to be in an incredibly healthy state, and I have little doubt that by the end of what I can only surmise to be a 7-year or so life cycle, the platform will have easily shipped over 100,000 units. But if anyone doubted that we would have to wait until beyond 2020 to hear about Sony's next PlayStation, I would say that Sony's predicted decline in sales for PlayStation 4 is a pretty good indicator that the company will have to release PS5 by holiday 2020 if they intend to keep the ball rolling. That's not to say this stuff is set in stone though. For one, if it turns out PlayStation 4 consistently keeps selling close to the 20 million units mark after exclusive releases like Spider-Man, Last of Us Part 2, Detroit, Days Gone, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, so on and so forth, they might very well extend PS4's lifespan by another year. Plans change often internally within the company. But at the same time, a lot of what they do will also be dictated by what the competition does. So if the next Xbox is planned to be released sooner rather than later, and it very well might be considering it's not selling spectacularly, that may accelerate plans for the next PlayStation so Sony can remain competitive and maintain their dominion. So there is all these different factors, but that decline in sales is the first sign of willingness to begin the transition from current gen to next gen. So in light of this information, I would say that holiday 2020 is not an unsafe bet when it comes to predicting when next gen will begin. It's all still up in the air though, we'll have to wait and see what happens. In the meantime, I'd love to hear what your predictions are on this matter in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon. It is completely optional, but donating even as little as $1 a month will go a long way in helping maintain this channel. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out!